Hey guys, and welcome back. We are once again at the Arlington Theater for the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. I'm Julie Ramos, and tonight the festival hands out the American Riviera Award. Now, in the past, the award's gone to actors like Forrest Whitaker, Kevin Bacon, and even Diane Lane. Well, tonight, we honor Tommy Lee Jones. Now, he's nominated for an Oscar this year, and we'll talk to him as he walks down the red carpet. So come enjoy the show. Meet you. I'm Julie Ramos.
Julie?
Yes, Julie. Nice to meet you. Now, throughout your career, you've given so many memorable performances. Is there one that stays with you, that you hang on to, and how do you choose your roles?
That's two questions, isn't it?
It is two. I was trying to be smart.
Yeah. No, there's none that hang on to me. None at all. And none in particular that stand out. It's just a job.
Now, the film No Country, I felt, stayed so true to the novel.
Yeah,
it did. And was it important to you to really, study that and make sure that your character came across that way in the film?
Yeah, I read the book. I had the greatest respect for the book and the greatest respect for the author. And it was very important to me that to represent that character, Ed Tom Bell, in a way that that Cormac might imagine him if he were to be actually walking and talking.
Now, you're nominated for an Oscar this year. Are you worried about what the writer's strike how that might affect the big night?
No, I'm not.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
Now, I know that you're a Spurs fan. Won't hold that against you. But my question is, are you taking somebody for the Super Bowl this year?
No, we'll be watching the Super Bowl from the couch.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, and congratulations on the night.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you are presenting Tommy Lee with the award this evening, and he's given so many memorable performances throughout the year. Is there one for you that you enjoyed the best, or that stands out to you?
Well, I directed The Fugitive, so that one is sort of very memorable to me.
Well, that's a given.
Boy, he's done so many things. I thought he was incredible in Ila. And I'm sorry the film hasn't gotten more attention. I hope it does. It's an amazing performance, and he's evolving as an actor. I think he's getting in some ways quieter and more reserved and more powerful. And so I think almost everything I've seen him do in the last few years forever actually has really been very, very significant to me. I saw him in Backroads, a film he did with Sally Fields when he was very young, and that was what said, this guy is really amazing.
Now, you mentioned you directed Tommy in The Fugitive. Now, was it always in your mind to cast him in that role? Was there ever a question of who would play that role?
Well, I did Under Siege with him just before that, and I was offered The Fugitive based upon the work in Under Siege, and so we had just had this incredible relationship, and I said to Harrison Ford, I really want to use this guy. And he said, well, let's look around, let's see who's out there. And there was nobody who could beat Tommy.
Now, I understand that Tommy actually wrote a lot of his pretty classic lines for the film The Fugitive. Is that true?
That's true.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us tonight.
Nice talking to you.
It's Andy Davis, the director of The Fugitive.
Was that a happy time for you in New York, being able to do all that theater that you did, and
It was a beautiful time in New York. The theater was still alive. It was still real. It was vital. People believed in it. The people who had lived, who had been alive and working in the heyday of New York theater weren't dead yet, and you could talk to them, and they would give you advice, and you would have the idea that theater would go on forever in a healthy manner, which it did not do. It was a very, very happy time.
You ever had the desire to go back to the theater to tackle?
Yeah, I have, and been invited on different occasions, but it's difficult. It's very expensive. You have to take a cut and pay. And, and if you have small children, you have to contemplate moving them to Manhattan, where you have to pay city and state taxes. which you don't have to pay in Texas. And it takes it's a very expensive thing to think about. What are the advantages of it? Well, it's a worldwide venue, and the audiences are, even today, the audiences are intelligent, good audiences, for the most part. But it's a difficult business proposition. I'd like to work in the theater, but I think I'd probably prefer to work in Austin or Dallas or Houston.
Well, a lot of great regional theater is actually going on now. So
yeah, you could call it regional theater. It's somewhat of a pejorative term, but less so as time goes by.
You had one of these incredible stories. So you sort of went to Hollywood and hit it, right away. You got an agent like incredibly fast. And can you talk about how you got an agent like so quickly in this business and
in California?
Well, no, in New York actually. When you came to New York, it wasn't that difficult for you. You always hear these stories about people like it takes them months, years, struggle and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take long, but it was very difficult.
Was it? Yeah.
There's a catch-22 at work here. You couldn't get a job in the theater unless you had an actor's equity card. And you couldn't get an actor's equity card unless you had a job in the theater. So that was, the problem I faced. That was the big main problem, that plus having no money. So what you basically did was they had open calls. The Actors Equity is the Stage Actors Union had required the producers group to have an open call for every audition for every show off and on Broadway and off Broadway. So the union had stood up and said, you can cast these shows any way you want to, but you have to have an open call to which any actor can come. And they submitted to that because it didn't cost them any money. And so you would read the daily trade papers, and you would see that there was an open call for this or that, and you would go to it. And so you were there to audition. If they asked to see your equity card, you'd simply slap your billfold and say, I left it at home. And in the hopes that you would get the job so that you could get the card. And that was pretty much the way you did it.
The sun came out for a bit today.